Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CAP MMA Show. Today is Monday, March 3rd, 2025. I'm your host, Joe White. Shout out to the entire CAP MMA team, Trace, Usman, Mike, Danny, and Aussie. With that said, Tommy Toehold, and let's do this shit. UFC Fight Night 253, also referred to as UFC Vegas 103, is officially in the books. 10 fights, 4 ended by way of knockout, 6 fights went the distance, 3 of which were split decisions. In contrast to last week's card, Fight Night 253 started slower than some others. The first 4 fights covered their 15-minute spread, which was probably okay with the UFC, seeing as how they lost both the Montana De La Rosa versus Luana Carolina and the Douglas Silva D'Andrade versus John Castaneda fights during fight week. The feature bout of the prelims, which was Danni Silva versus Lucas Almeida, seen some controversy when Lucas Almeida weighed in at 148 pounds, 2 pounds over the featherweight non-title fight limit, which resulted in him being fined 20% of his purse, which went to his opponent. The bout proceeded at catchweight, where Danni Silva won via split decision. All right, little less mechanical reading now. I don't weight cutting. My biggest problem with guys that missed weight isn't the 2 pounds or the 3 pounds or whatever the difference is, or over the limit, however you want to gauge it. My issue with it is the struggle at the end, and then how quickly you can recover. If both guys are recovering to a similar walking weight, right? It doesn't matter what the weight is. Let's just say it's apples for apples, and they both want to get back to the same weight. They need to cut to the same weight and get to the same weight. If one guy only goes 95% or 90% of the way there and then turns around and starts running back, they're going to reach the goal of recovery much quicker. And that's what happens a lot of times. So I have a problem, especially when there's a split decision like this, and it was a close fight. What if he had pushed himself to the limit to make the 146 pounds? Was this a different fight? Did he recover the same? Does he walk the same? All things fair, is this even the same fight had he made weight? Hard to know, hard to measure, hard to judge, but for me, it's a problem that will forever exist until the UFC does something about quarterly weights for guys to make sure that they're not cutting too much weight for a weight class. From there, after that, Mario Pinto closed the prelims by flatlining Austin Lane. Impressive. I doubted him. I don't know how strongly I doubted him, and that's not me trying to cover. I do know that I doubted him, though. I thought Lane's KO was at least live. It paid like plus 750, I think. It might have been plus 1,200. It was something crazy. I actually honestly didn't end up playing it. But, I thought there was a chance. After that performance, I don't know that I would take Lane 1 out of 99 times against Mario. So great performance for Mario. Especially that's his UFC debut coming off of the Contender Series. I know some guys consider the Contender Series like their first UFC fight because of the pressure, but I don't. It's a whole different thing. It's a whole different atmosphere. Not the same. So congratulations to Mario Pinto. The main card opened with Sam Peterson knocking out favorite to win Danny Barlow in just over 3 minutes. Man, there were only a few people who called that. I know a lot of people are living in the glory of it afterwards. Because they were calling for Sam to get the upset. Some people were calling for him to get the submission. I thought the submission was live. I think everybody thought the submission was live. I think most people thought it was his only path to victory. But I do know there were a few people yelling to anybody that would hear it that the Sam Patterson knockout was the play. So congratulations to them. If they played it in round 1 to get the extra juice on the prop, double congratulations to them. After that, we've seen 2 split decisions. Hyder Emil over William Gomez, which I agreed with. I agreed with it. I know a lot of people are probably going to give me shit because I was on Hyder in the space last Friday, but I don't care. I really thought he won it, And then after that was Nazarat Hasparat versus Esteban Ribovic. Hasparat won that one, which I did not agree with, which everybody is going to give me shit because I was on Ribovic in the space on Friday night. So yeah, maybe I seen it through my eyes, but I definitely thought Esteban should have got his hand raised. I did. Hate it if you want. I don't care. In the co-main event, Cody Brundage absolutely melted Julian Marquez and knocked him out in round 1. I was giving guys some hard time Friday night. I said that he would melt him after giving a few hot takes, just kind of trying to rile everybody up for fun. So I had to say that he went out there and melted him. I wouldn't say he melted him because there was a moment where I didn't think Cody looked great. And when the fight ends in the first round, and you can find moments where he didn't look great, you can't say that he melted the other guy. But it was a pretty impressive performance. I thought Cody looked good as ever. If he can continue to step his cardio up, I'd be happy to see Cody climb, go somewhere. I'm not gonna start talking about a title shot. I know that's crazy, and people would give me a lot of shit. I like the guy. I think he's a good guy. So I was happy to see him get the W. The weird thing about the fight though was mouthpiece gate. That's what John Anik called it. Both guys lost their mouthpieces. The ref picks them up at separate times, and then they're in an exchange, and it seems like they're getting ready to go into another exchange, but the referee jumps in to give them both their mouthpieces. It was very AP Jamal Hill-esque in the sense that the referee grabbed the attention of the fighter, and then a second later, he got knocked out. The referee grabbed the attention of both fighters, and then a second later, one of them got knocked out. I don't know. It just seems like sometimes the attention breaks, and one guy's attention actually breaks, and the other guy's attention does not break, and that may be the moment where, the difference happens. I can't think of a ton of instances where the referee put their hand in, and then the fight was stopped. It doesn't mean a bunch didn't happen. It's something I just started rolling around after I seen this fight. But very AP Jamal Hill-esque to me in the sense that the referee causes interference. And I get it. They both had their mouthpiece out, and they were swinging for the fences. So he's just trying to protect the fighters. But in that moment, I actually feel like the wrong decision was made, and the fight could have went a different way. Had the referee not intervened. The main event ended in what I'm going to call a controversial way. So the main event was Manel Kape versus Asu Almabayev. I don't really need this. I wrote it all up. Derek Brunson showed a slow motion clip that highlights it all over on X. You can probably go over there and find it if you haven't already seen it. You probably have. If you're watching this show, you've probably definitely following Derek Brunson over on X. You're probably that much of a fan anyway. So the moral of the story is that during the fight, you could tell that Kape was hitting, swiping, touching the eyes of Almabayev a lot, to the point that it seemed maybe intentional. And then Derek Brunson posted the slow motion. There is a sequence where Kape open finger swipes and drags his left hand across Almabayev's left eye. He reaches over, fist open, swipes the left eye with the right hand 2 fingers. And then comes again, the slow motion speeds up at the end. I don't know what software it was, but he comes again. It's not clear if he actually gets him the third time, but the left hand is open and targeting the left eye again. Almabayev ends up against the cage, back against the cage, trying to call a timeout, and then right after it gets dropped. And then we know how the fight ended. It's dirty. Almabayev should be granted a no contest. This is, in my opinion, absolutely ridiculous. The referee, Mike Beltran, did nothing. He did nothing. I did not go back and count every one of them because I spend my Sundays writing the show and taking care of my household and doing the things I do. So I don't have all the time in the world to go back and watch everything, but I don't feel like it was just those 3 swipes. I would bet you if you went back and counted, it was 5 eye pokes. Absolutely crazy. No points taken. This sparked a conversation or a bit of a conversation online, which always sparks up in situations like this and in the CAP MMA chat. I think an eye poke should always be a point. I think it should always be a point. It's not, but I think that it should be. I think low blows and fence grabs should be half a point. Let me rephrase that. I think all eye pokes at range or distance should be a point deduction. I think that all low blows or illegal blows should be an automatic half a point deduction. And I think that fence grabs in situations where they're grappling, clinching, or position is stopped should also result in a half a point deduction. I think that the referees have the ability to really turn MMA into a professional sport where guys fight like professionals, but they choose not to because they're afraid that they'll be the guy that tries to start making a difference, and the big promotions will say, we don't want that guy anymore. So they're not going to do it. The promotions, as long as Dana White says he's happy with the way it is and the eye poke wasn't intentional, so who cares? This is what the referees are going to do because they want, as an individual referee, you've got a smaller shot of becoming a UFC referee than you do of becoming a UFC fighter. It is a smaller window. The referees have a much longer lifespan in the sport, and there's only so many spots available. You are not trying to get outcast by the UFC, and especially in a world where Bellator is gone, and be reduced to only being able to do GFL, PFL, and if you're lucky, get on some BKFC cards. So this is a big promotion strong arm. They don't want the referees taking the points that should be taken so that the fighters will make the adjustments that need to be made. If you started deducting points like that for every incident, I guarantee you without the shadow of a doubt that fighters would clean up and you'd see at least a 60 to 80% reduction in fouls almost immediately. No one will convince me otherwise. I'm done on my soapbox with that topic. Let's move on here. After that, okay. So this is Trace Pick Fights. He's on our team. He does spaces. He co-hosts them. He's done some write-up on the site. He's been with the team for a long time. If you've been around CAP MMA at all, you should know who Trace is. He sent me over a write-up for this past weekend's BKFC Albuquerque. I did rewrite it a little bit because for reading purposes, the way I might read it opposed to the way he might feel comfortable reading it. So what I did is I took Trace's notes, I formed a little bit of my own dialogue, and then I kept all of his notes intact because I want to read them. That's the value in his write-up. So I'm going to go through the breakdown of BKFC Albuquerque. Is officially in the books. It was an action-packed card, full of finishes, 11 fights, 10 of them ending in KO. I did not go back and count, but it was 8 or 9 of them were first round. Absolutely insane. One corner stoppage amongst those 10 KOs, but absolutely banger of a card. I watched the main card and then some highlights. I know Trace watched every minute of the card. The prelims were this is Trace's write-up now. The prelims were intense. Roderick Stewart knocked out Brian McCain in the first. Ruben Araro, I'm pretty sure I said that. His corner stopped the fight after round 2. Lorenzo Coca worked him. Great corner stoppage. BKFC does not seem to have the holdups that the other sports have with corner stoppages. Maybe I'm just thinking of a few instances in my head, so it stands out. But I'll be honest, a few instances standing out in your head show that it is far more acceptable in the culture of BKFC than it is in the culture of MMA or even the culture of boxing. Good on his corner for just stopping the fight. Trace noted on these two fights where the first fight was a mismatch and the second fight was between two Cholo uncles at a family barbecue. Trace, I ain't letting you off the hook. I don't know if you just wanted to laugh at me when you listen to this back. I know if Usman wrote that, it would have been to intentionally laugh back at me during this read. Coming into the card, there was a little bit of animosity at the face-offs between Kyle McElroy and Jay Jackson. Kyle McElroy slapped him. It went pretty viral on X. I'm sure if you're watching this show, that's something that also came across your feed, just meaning, we're still pretty small. So guys who follow this show probably follow a lot of MMA stuff. Anyways, he smacked him, and Jackson didn't seem particularly bothered by it. A lot of this is Trace's direct material, guys. I seen it, though, and he didn't seem very bothered by it. I 100% agree with that. In round one, McElroy was the cleaner striker, and Jackson was way overextending on power shots, but he cleaned it up, and in the later rounds and ended up winning by round 3 stoppage via a nasty cut. I can't actually say that this is a highlights fight for me, so I'm going to take Trace's write-up as gold. Eventually, we're going to have Trace over here giving you these write-ups himself, but until then, they are absolutely priceless for me. Justin Martinez KO'd Isaiah Garcia in round 1 of their fight. After that, Wild Bill KO'd Brett Fields. You guessed it, in round 1. Man, BKFC bangs. If you are an action-packed combat sports lover, I don't know how you could not watch and love BKFC. It's hard for me. I'm a father of 5. I got to choose my content, and UFC will always be number 1. So on weekends where I can't watch it all, UFC comes first. But man, sometimes it is a hard thing to want to give my time to the UFC card when it's a fight night and there's a banger of a BKFC card on. You really do. If you're not hip to BKFC and you're a combat fan, you've got to get over there. I'm not paid by those guys. It just is what it is. Anyways, Wild Bill KO'd Brett Fields in round 1. Bill was the first fighter to have reach advantage and actually take advantage of it, per Trace's notes. Clean while awkward striking, smooth performance. Trace is smooth with BKFC. His write-ups are gold. I know that I should just probably read it off like they're mine, but I don't like to do that. I really want to get Trace over here, and I really want to credit him for his work. His write-up came over. It's 2 pages long, man, regardless of my edit. Round 1, Murat Kilimedrov. I know I probably butchered that one a little bit. KO'd Lamont Stanford. Trace noted that Murat was a much smaller fighter, much smaller man, but weathered a fury of big shots from the 6'6" Lamont Stanford. Eric Dotson KO'd Von Vo. Trace's notes were that Eric had early success being the faster man. He caught Van early off guard and landed a knockdown. Dotson was pressuring, sensing an early finish, and got caught. Feet together, slams down to the mat, head bouncing off the mat. 3 seconds into the count, he sits up and smiles. I couldn't believe it. Shades of Fury versus Wilder. The fight continues. Eric gets knocked down 3 more times in the round. In round 2, the men are clashing, and in the center, Eric, being the faster man, starts having more success and drops Van 2 more times before stopping him in a flurry against the ropes. Absolutely wild. Trace's write-up was absolutely great right there. I won't lie. And finally, in the main event, Bekzad Usmanov KO'd Keith Richardson. Trace's notes were Usmanov showed no respect for Keith, walking him down until he got the KO. It seems like the Russians are here to stay in BKFC. Trace also noted somewhere else, I must have skipped it because I get to thinking about it faster than I read it, that he thinks that the Russian invasion is here. That's it for BKFC Albuquerque. Trace's final thoughts were that it was an overall exciting card for such little name value, and it was safe to say that some potential stars were showcased. Man, I bumbled my words right there. If you guys could only see what I just had to edit out. I don't know what happened to me over that BKFC readout right there, and I read it a couple of times. That kicks my ass. Outside of that, in other combat sports news, Karate Combat 53 is officially in the books. 11 matches, 8 knockouts, 2 decisions, and a disqualification for punches to the back of the head. I'll do much less coverage on this card, but a few fights that MMA fans may be interested in. Brendan Allen competed against Kyle Baharo and lost via unanimous decision after 2 rounds. That comes just 6 days after Brendan lost a unanimous decision to Anthony Hernandez at UFC Seattle. Tough week for Brendan Allen. Former UFC fighter Rebellis de Spain also competed. He scored like an 8-second knockout. This is against Rogers Sosa. This is his 3rd fight in Karate Combat since like mid-December of last year. So we're talking a couple of months. It's his 3rd knockout in 3 fights. All 3 fights have a total combined time of 24 seconds. Rebellis is absolutely killing it over there in Karate Combat. Tough spot for him with the way things went for him in the UFC. I hope he continues to tear things up over in Karate Combat and then makes his way back over to the UFC so that we can see what he can do. All right, let's jump into some other MMA headlines and social medias. Jedi Goodman posted a sound clip of a media call from TKO representatives. I listened to it, but Jedi actually quoted this. We are close to an agreement with the Saudis on a creation of a boxing league where we, TKO, would be the producer and promoter and responsible for all day-to-day operations of the venture, whereby we would receive a fee of $10 million plus. Again, we're not putting in any money. We're not putting any capital in. Sure, I guess. Turkey El-Sheikh will just turn it into a shit show. He's already been seen telling boxers the score of the fights. Like, I can't see how that goes well. The UFC runs a pretty tight ship. I'm proud to say that as a UFC fan. Things stay very regular. They don't put up with too many antics. And I think that is just not going to go well, where Turkey is the controlling entity, but they have to manage it, produce it. I mean, I guess he's basically paying them to be a production company and do their rankings, maybe. I don't know. I don't think that that's a great look, if I'm being honest. But, hey, I don't have hundreds of billions of dollars at my access. So, I guess I don't get to make those calls. Merab Dvalishvili posted a clip on social media hinting at a rematch with Sean O'Malley. He puts like a Sean stuffed animal in the car, and Merab's pretty funny, but his antics are kind of getting redundant or repetitive. Bet him to the moon, man. There's nothing that's going to go any difference. I don't think that it will be closer. I think that the gap will be bigger. I think Merab's victory will be much more distinct this time. I don't even think it'll be called into question. Sean went and got some surgery, been sitting around crying, convincing himself he won. Merab moved on, took on the biggest challenge, the biggest boogeyman in the entire division, and dominated him. It's not going to go well for Sean O'Malley in a rematch, in my opinion. Robert Whittaker and Sean Strickland are starting to heat up. They're going back and forth a little bit on social media. Rob called Sean out after his last performance. We know that Rob's manager has previously said that Sean turned down a fight between him and Rob. We also know that Sean admitted that he was offered the fight. and that Sean has taken to social media to kind of bash on Rob. I don't know how I feel about this fight. I feel like this could be a great boxing match if both guys get in there angry, foot on the gas, and go after it. It'd be one of the grandest striking battles I think that we have seen MMA boxing. But if either one of them go in there with any hesitation playing it safe, it is going to be a very slow, boring fight. So while I do want to see it, if I'm being honest, I do have some reservations there. What else do we got here? I don't even know how many pages today's show is. Henry Cejudo called Jason Herzog. He called him on the FaceTime or on the, I don't know how he did it, but he puts it up on the screen and he's recording it. And he's basically crying to Jason Herzog that he didn't take a point. And now I have a loss on my record because you didn't take that point. I feel like it could have gone differently. And you just heard me earlier in this show saying that I think eye poke should be an automatic point. But they're not. And Henry calling a referee, putting him on the spot, means absolutely nothing. It does nothing for anybody. What did you want Jason Herzog to say? Fuck off, Henry. I don't care. Of course he's going to say, I see your point. He thanks him for his perspective and his criticism. Jason is, he handles the whole situation with class. He says, when I look back, I see where your point could be. And he kind of just finesses Henry into letting him off the damn phone. Like, it's a lose-lose. You put him on camera. You're putting him on the spot. If he defends it, then you can bash him to fans. And now he's in the media where referees are not supposed to be, where they're not supposed to be. Or he yes-mans you and gets off the phone, and those of us who really know can see that it's all bullshit. Henry made the worst retirement. He's 0-3 in his last 3. Herzog didn't make any bad calls. Henry quit on himself. I said it last week. I'm going to double down this week. Next week, I'll go ahead and triple down. I'll remember to put that in the notes to remind everybody that Henry quit, and he's a fucking crybaby. That's the new one. Henry quit, and Henry's a crybaby. How about that? All right. Darren Till won some lame-ass boxing match in some lame-ass promotion, and now he thinks he can come back to the UFC. I don't even know what to say to that, man. Darren, Kevin Lee, Tyron Woodley, Tony Ferguson, Dylan Dennis, they got a fight league. It's called the Global Fight League. We all know what it is. Go, man. Get a dub. You won't, but go get a dub. Grab a 2-fight contract, 3-fight contract. Give them a season. Do something. Show us something. Because there is nothing that makes me think that you won't get absolutely murked. You couldn't win on the Contender Series, bro. You get beat up on the Contender Series. You could beat me up. That's fine. But you ain't beating up nobody on the Contender Series, and you ain't beating up nobody in the UFC. GFL. It's okay, Darren. It's okay. I'm actually not even talking shit. I think the GFL is legit. We're going to see. Rumors are circulating that Ilia Topuria is demanding a title shot in his 155-pound debut. I think his biggest issue is Islam doesn't want the legacy of just beating all the 145-pound champions that came up. I don't actually think that looks the way some may think it does. Oh, he beat champion after champion. He beat smaller guy after smaller guy after smaller guy. Islam has dreams of going up. He has hopes of going up. Why do people keep wanting him to fight down? And now Ilia saying, I can't make the weight. I can't do this. I can't do that. Isn't Ilia like 5'6"? He can make 145 pounds if he wants to. You're not going to tell me he can't. He can. He's not jacked. We see him. He's not huge. He's not. So this is a move where he wants to go up to 155. The problem is that you're a 145er in Islam's eyes. Go beat somebody at 155, and then we will all agree that you're a 155er and should get the 155-pound title shot. I don't know. Those are just accounts that seem to be linked to Ilia's team or camp that are saying that, but it's not. I haven't heard him say it, so I'm not going to go too ham on it. A few fight announcements from from Marcel Dwarf's page at Big Marcel 24. Just a couple. He does a bunch of them. You should follow him if you don't over on X. He seems to be the best source for official fight announcements outside of obviously the UFC or ESPN. If he posted it, it seems to always be legit. So give him a follow. I'm going to name off a couple. UFC 314, April 12th, Bryce Mitchell and Gene Silva. Bryce is plus 305, Gene minus 400. Man, I want to, like, root that Bryce's, Bryce's submission prop is live, but I don't actually think it is. Yeah, I don't actually think that it is. Probably Silva by finish, first round, second round. Maybe I'll look for the second round prop. UFC Kansas City, April 26th. Jamal Hill will fight Khalil Roundtree. Jamal is a minus 120. Khalil is a plus 100. Those are average odds from CAP MMA.com. I'm not mad at the odds. I give Jamal a lot of shit, but this should be a good fight. I do think that Khalil fights with a lot of forward pressure, and I'm not real confident that Jamal will be able to handle that. I'm also not confident that Khalil can knock Jamal out. Spite the AP knockout, I think Jamal has a pretty good chin. So unless AP changed him, oh wait, you know what? The Yuri knockout. Yeah, I take that back. Khalil Roundtree knockout, round 3 prop. Man, these fights go by so fast. Sometimes you just forget that they happen. UFC Des Moines on May 3rd. Marlon Chito Vera will fight Mario Batista. No odds on that yet, at least not on our board. I like Chito. I like Chito for a lot of reasons outside of the octagon. So I wish him the best of luck, and I hope he gets the W. Over to the GFL. Darren Till, we're talking to you, bro. Tony Ferguson will fight Dylan Dennis in a lightweight matchup. Tony Ferguson will represent Team Los Angeles, and Dylan Dennis will represent Team New York. If Dylan Dennis beats Tony Ferguson, what are all you Tony Ferguson fans going to say? I just need to know, like, what's the excuse going to be? Do you need me to help you? I could go on Chat GPT and ask it to make you some excuses because you're going to need them. Like, man, I like Tony Ferguson, and I defend these guys' ability to fight until they can't fight anymore. But it kind of seems like Tony already can't fight anymore, and I actually don't want to see him get beat up again. So, yeah, whatever. Val Dewar. It's a foreign name. I've never heard it pronounced, but his handle is at the3ELS, THE3ELS. He reported that there's breaking news that Bo Nickal's next fight has been signed against former ONE champion Renier de Ridder. The exact date of the fight still to be decided, but there is a specific event tentatively targeted. It's going to be International Fight Week at the end of June or beginning of July, depending on when the UFC does it. It seems like they moved it to June last week, so I'm assuming that that's the new place for it. Yeah, I just think that's the card, and the fight makes good sense in my opinion. That fight makes very good sense in my opinion. I'm excited to see it. I think if Bo can beat Rayner, then we need to look at him differently. I think that we need to stop calling him the biggest prospect that's fighting nobodies and give him some respect. And then I think the UFC needs to give him someone at the tippity top and see where he lands after that fight. Okay, from the UFC roster tracker over at Roster Tracker, there's a bunch of them accounts. I talk about them weekly. I used Roster Tracker this week. Few fighters were removed. Roosevelt Roberts, 31 years old, dropped after a 5-fight losing streak. Matthew Samuelsberger, 32 years old, 4-fight losing streak. Cody Stamen, 35 years old, 3-fight losing streak, 2-3 in his last 5, but 3-7-1 in his last 10. Jonathan Pierce, 32 years old, dropped his last 3, but he was on a 5-fight run before that. I don't know if he was just at the end of his contract and they decided not to renew it or what. Taylor Lapoulis, 32 years old, 2-1 since being re-signed with the UFC. A lot of people were really upset about this. I don't know the backstory. He was released on a 2-1 run. I hope I said that right earlier. He's on a 2-1 run when he was released. It's the same thing as last time. He was released on a 2-1 run. Maybe the guy's difficult to deal with. They've let us know with Mokaev, with Mohamed Mokaev, that they are not willing to deal with difficult people just to keep a talented guy in the promotion. So I don't know. I'm not saying that Taylor is difficult. I'm not trying to throw him under that bus. I'm just saying I don't know the whole story or all of the details, so I can't give an honest and truthful take on his release. Josh Kulabau was released, 3-fight losing streak, and 3-8 in his UFC run. A lot of fights in the promotion, though, for a guy with only 3 wins. They gave him 11 fights, man. That's a lot of love. That's a lot of love. Julio Ars, 35 years old. Arce, right? 35 years old, coming off a win over Herbert Burns. But if you look at his UFC career backwards, it's win-loss, 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 win-win-win. So, I don't know, 35 years old, I can understand why maybe they just decided, you've been going 1-1 and 1 and 1 and 1, and things aren't going to get any easier for you. Maybe it wasn't a malicious decision to let him go, is the point that I am trying to make. Also, a fighter whose name I am going to butcher, Marsharabjan Ruzabayev. He has no UFC fights. He was also removed from the roster, released. I don't know the situation. I actually don't know who he is, but he was noted to have been released. Okay, and finally, a little bit of UFC 313. I got to say it that way because where I'm from, a little bit of UFC 313 talk. I'm not going to do a full fight breakdown. If you are interested in hearing a full fight breakdown this Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, I got to learn the Australian time because our host is doing it from Australia, for Christ's sakes. Our whole team will be in space over on X. It's audio only. Anybody can jump in. Open mic. All welcome. Aussie, Usman, Mike, Trace, Danny. Everybody gives their take on the fights. Mike and Trace are always doing tape. Usman loves over-unders. And Aussie is a very, very phenomenal prop hunter. They are a great team. They're very sharp. I give them a lot of shit. I give my picks. Some weeks I kill it. Some weeks I don't. I don't care. The space is great. A lot of other people joined. Last week was a banger of a space. I hope to hear all those guys back, or at least some of them. I felt like it was great conversation. And if we get too many people in there, we will rotate folks. We'll make sure that everybody can get on and off the mic. But give us a follow at CAP MMA.com, and then Danni already has the space scheduled. She schedules it on Sunday. She does not play, and she does not slip up about it. So if you're interested in a UFC 313 breakdown, that's where you'll be able to find it on behalf of our team. Okay, back to the card. UFC 313, Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev will take place this coming Saturday, March 8th, 2025, at the T-Mobile Arena in Paradise, Nevada, part of the Las Vegas Valley, USA. The lightweight championship bout between current champion. Okay, so Alex Pereira and Ankalaev are going to headline the card. Spite the fact that they've been, going back and forth, I think Ankalaev said, Chama is dead man walking, and then AP said he posted a picture with the caption "ready to kill." AP recently took to social media, offered a bet, or I guess you would call it a bet or a challenge to Ankalaev for $200,000. Whoever wins the fight, they donate that to children with cancer. AP, a couple fights back, had a fan who had cancer. I'm not sure if the guy was terminal, if the young man was terminal or not. But he just wanted to shave AP's head before a fight, and AP let him, and I know it was very emotional for him. And, man, you know, things turn leaves for people, open their eyes to things and causes. I'm glad to see that AP is willing to donate that money, and still hoping that Ankalaev will donate that money if he wins and gets the big purse. He also called out Ali Abdelaziz to help with that, to match that, maybe like $100,000 a piece or something. Ali should have good money by now. I would hope that they can do it. It's not like this is an every fight thing where he's trying to get them to donate, you know, a huge percentage of all of their purses. This just seems to be something he wants to do for this pay-per-view, so I wish him luck. In the co-main event, Dan Hooker is out due to a broken hand in training. A lot of people upset that he broke his hand in training. I don't think that's on who he's training with, to be clear. Whether it is just shit luck or pushing it too hard, I just don't feel like that's going to be on the people that are training around him. It's either on him or it's shit luck. Rafael Fiziev will step in and to a 3-round fight to fight Justin Gaethje in a rematch. Justin beat, I think it was 286. I should have noted it, but I think it was at UFC 286. The two of them fought to a split decision, I believe, and Justin got his hand raised. Oh, no, I did note that. Majority decision. Justin got his hand raised in a majority decision. Should be a great fight. I'm excited to see it. Not quite as excited as I would have been to see Hooker versus Gaethje, but I'm not complaining. Jonathan Denise and Vitor Petrino were scheduled to fight on this card. However, Petrino was forced to withdraw due to some elbow issues. It's a syndrome I couldn't even begin to say the name, but it affects both of his elbows. They had to call the fight off. So that fight's done. Chris Gutierrez was scheduled to fight Gene Matsumoto, but Gene was pulled to fight Rob Font 2 weeks ago. It's unclear if they're going to try to get Chris an opponent for the card or get him a fight on a card coming up real soon. That may be announced today or tomorrow. A lot of stuff usually happens on Tuesday with fight announcements from the seams of it. Josh Van will now fight Road to UFC Season 2 winner Ray Sierra. Van was expected to fight Bruno Gostov de Silva. However, about 2 weeks ago, Silva pulled out due to undisclosed injuries. So Josh Van versus Ray Sierra is the fight. It's going to be a great card. I'm really excited to see it. I don't want to jump too much into it because I love the Friday night space. Our team, I don't know. It's a great conversation. If you don't have Friday night plans and you love MMA, throw on whatever Friday night fights are on, mute them, turn the space on, hop in. It is a great time. And that's a show. That's it. That's all we got. A few quick things, few notes. This show was brought to you by our very own website, capmma.com, the best place for side-by-side odds so that you can make sure you're getting the best line on all of your bets. The site features money line odds, overs, unders, a scorecard database, the most recent headlines, little blue icon next to the fighters' names. Pops up all of the recent headlines for them. I'm going to go ahead. I hate to get away from the mic, but I'm going to go ahead and do that here. You see I clicked someone's name, and it brings up all of Volkanovski's recent news articles wrote about him from all the biggest outlets, MMAfighting.com, Cageside Press, MMA Junkie. I think we've got 8 out of the 10 biggest outlets tied in here. And sometimes it's got stories, you go back and see a story and you might realize a guy was injured or fought some adversity between fights, and it might change the way you cap or handicap the fights. So we think that that's valuable information. Remember, it is 100% free, 100% ad-free, 100% pop-up free. It is just what CAP MMA does. We try to help everybody make the most educated bets that they can. After that, shout out to the entire CAP MMA Sports chat group. We've added some new members lately. Great conversation, great talk. Everybody that's stuck with it out of the recent ads, great conversation. Thank you again to Trace for the BKFC write-up. Shout out to Mike, all in for bettertimes.com, or go to capmma.com and click Better Times. Mike puts write-outs up of all the cards. He breaks them all down after he watches tape. He puts in a lot of time on those write-ups, and they are absolutely phenomenal. Sometimes it's easier to read someone's write-up about and learn what someone's tendencies are than it is to go watch tape on every fight. Mike is already doing the work. If you just want some insight on every fight, or you don't have time to bust down some tape on some prelims or part of the main card any week, all in for bettertimes.com, capmma.com/bettertimes, BETTORTIMES. Mike's write-ups are phenomenal. And then, of course, shout out to Danni, killing it as the host in the spaces. And then, of course, shout out to Usman and Aussie. That's it. I hope to see everybody on the team on camera soon, or soon enough. Somewhere popped up here next to me, split screen, maybe a second show of the week, maybe a 20-minute review, and a 20-minute headline show that we do. Whatever it is, we'll work it out. Here's to you and here's to us. Friends together, look at us. And if we ever have a tuss, fuck you. Here's to us. Cap MMA.